Welcome to the Sister Harriet Podcast, where we celebrate the power of showing up. I'm your host, Angela Denise Davis. Relic. R-E-L-I-C. Relic. I have a skeleton in my closet. I know usually when people make those sorts of confessions, they're met with judgment. I don't want you to judge me today. Just listen. I have a skeleton in my closet, and I want to tell you about it. I mean, I literally have a skeleton in my closet, and her name is Spoonie Gal. Why on earth, Angela, do you have a skeleton in your closet? I have to tell you about it because it's a pretty amazing story. In the fall of 2016, I had an opportunity to seize a new job, which led me to San Francisco, California. I spent the whole of 2017 there. But halfway through my stay, I discovered I didn't move to San Francisco for the job. I moved to San Francisco to begin a journey. Have you ever come to a place in your life where there's something that just keeps nagging you and you tell yourself, oh, I'm through with that, I'm moving on to something else and it's over, and yeah. That had happened to me as I thought about pursuing opportunities for theological education and doing more work around spiritual direction. And I really had pushed to the side this idea of engaging more of my passion for ministry and theology. It was as if I had a corpse that I decided to bury. And the next day, it showed up in my living room, sitting in the recliner. And I said, no, let's bury this again. And the next week, it resurfaces, sitting on the toilet watching me as I brush my teeth in the bathroom. No, I'm through with this. I'm over with it. This is done. I can't entertain this idea anymore. And I bury it once again. A few weeks later, it shows up at my kitchen table. This idea, this dream, this passion of mine, it kept resurfacing, even though I had intentionally done all I could to bury it. I discovered there are things in our lives that resurface like that. They become skeletons that greet us every time we think we had given them a proper burial. I was telling this to a friend of mine. I was in Walgreens in Oakland, California, and she was on the phone. I was talking to her. She was back in Atlanta. And I was saying, I have this thing and it just keeps resurfacing and I'm buried. It's just like a skeleton that keeps showing up in my house. And we talked for a few minutes and she gave me some great advice. And as we got off the phone, I turned and walked down the aisle only to discover right there in front of me was a skeleton. About 4 feet high. Oh my God, what a sign. I laughed and took the skeleton to the counter and took her home with me. I remember sitting on the BART train and a young woman sitting next to me peered into my bag. She said, Are you a doctor? No, I told her. Are you a teacher? No. She kind of chuckled and said, well, what's the skeleton about? And I shared briefly with her that it was a prop, a reminder for me as I am having conversations with myself about the work I'm called to do in the world. She was intrigued. She was a young woman in the field of medicine, and she told me about how she was trying to find a way of introducing Chinese medicine into the work she was doing as a doctor in a Western setting. And we shared a few moments on the BART, and I told her goodbye as she got off the train. And I thought about what a great opportunity already this skeleton had provided in talking about direction and passion and proficiency. The next day at work, I was telling my friend about Spoonie Gal, and she laughed. She said, there's some things you can do here in San Francisco that you can't do back in Atlanta. And she was right. People would have laughed at me if they saw me walking down the street in Atlanta with Spoonie Gal, the name I gave my skeleton. But in San Francisco, it was just another day's sighting. I took Spoonie Gal home and I put her up in a place where I could see her every day. And I told myself my job was to have a conversation with her about the path I was to choose. When I left San Francisco, I took Spoonie Gal with me. She rode with me on the plane. Maybe there's something in your life that you feel called to do. And perhaps you don't have a skeleton in your closet, but maybe there's something that keeps prompting you to be in conversation with that passion, with that thing, with that idea. Something that tells you you don't need to give it up, but you need to embrace dialogue with yourself and others about how to make this thing come real in your life. I am so convinced that Spoonie Gal is such a wonderful reminder of my need to have a conversation about risk and passion and proficiency and stepping out to do the work that I'm called to do, that I've now taken her out of my closet and put her on the couch. Because I want to see her every day. In a world where we can become so easily distracted, I need to see her every day to remind myself that even though sometimes this work of following our dreams, fulfilling our passion is risky business, it's the work we're called to do in the world. You may be sitting at your desk right now, sensing that this is not the work you're called to do. Or maybe you have been thinking about that big dream, that journey you need to take. On this day, I hope this podcast episode will give you a little bit more courage of stepping out there, of wading in risky waters in order to fulfill the work you're called to do in the world. Share with someone the passion you have. Let them be a sounding board as you make your way onto your journey's path. Relic. R-E-L-I-C. Relic.